Okay, let's set the scene. It is February 4th, 2026. If you are standing in the South Bay right now, maybe down by the port in San Pedro, or looking out over the bluffs in Palos Verdes, you can physically feel the energy shifting.
You really can. It's this very specific, almost complex mix.
It is. You have the salt spray from the Pacific, you got the smell of old industrial rust, and then just underneath all of that, you hear this hum of absolutely cutting-edge technology.
It is a sensory clash, isn't it? You are standing right at the intersection of the past and the future.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We've been calling this region Space Beach for a few years now.
Right, the high-tech aerospace companies setting up shop right next to surf shacks.
Exactly. But if you look closer, past the shiny rockets and the electric vehicle plants, there's this gritty history of old infrastructure, stuff that has been sitting there, arguably broken, just waiting for a second act.
And that is really the headline for the entire region, transition. We are seeing this massive pivot in how land, buildings, and, well, even people are being used in the South Bay.
So here is the mission for this deep dive. We have two very different sources on the table. First, we have the South Bay Development and Economic Outlook 2026.
Which is heavy on the data. Real estate trends, macroeconomics, that kind of thing. It tells us what is happening.
The hard data. And second, we have the story of a single building, a brand new entity opening this summer in San Pedro called Voxel Micro Video Labs.
And I know what you're thinking. How do you connect a macroeconomic report to one creative studio?
Right. But that is the hook. We're looking at the economic outlook through the lens of Voxel. Because when you really dig into what this place is doing, it's not just a place to shoot videos.
No, it functions as the connective tissue the entire region has been waiting for.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's located at voxelmicrovideolabs.com, and they're positioning themselves as a creator hub. But as we dug in, we realized Voxel is actually solving the specific bottlenecks that are identified in that economic report.
Exactly. When you analyze the problems facing the major players in the South Bay, from the aerospace giants down to, the struggling retail sector, they all share a common problem.
Communication and branding.
Communication and branding. They have incredible tech or new real estate, but they don't know how to tell the story. Voxel seems uniquely designed to solve that specific problem.
So let's start with the heart of this, the origin story of Voxel Micro Video Labs. Because I don't want to gloss over this. This isn't just some, office park construction project. This place has a legitimate soul.
It does, and that soul informs the entire business model. And to understand that model, you really have to understand the physical site. We are on 6th Street in San Pedro.
And talk about history. This building has lived a dozen lives. It started as a JCPenney way back in 1922.
Which in itself tells you a lot about the retail history of the area. It was the hub of commerce for the port.
But then it gets wilder. There are rumors it was used to hide contraband during Prohibition.
That is the local lore. Hidden rooms, secret corridors. It makes a lot of sense for a port city. It has that kind of noir quality to it.
I love that detail. But then it went through this cycle that is so typical of the South Bay's older inventory. It was a call center in the 80s, then a dance studio.
And then silence. By 2020, it was just sitting there, rotting.
And that is the crucial context for the South Bay right now. There's a lot of inventory that is just silent.
That is where the founder, Jennifer Wolfe, enters the picture. Now she is a therapist by trade.
Which seems like an incredibly odd background for a property developer. Usually you expect a finance background or something in construction management.
Actually, I think it's the key variable here. When she looked at this dilapidated structure on 6th Street, she didn't see an asset class or potential square footage yield.
But what did she see?
She saw, and this is a quote, a soul that needed healing.
So she wasn't looking for a flip. She was looking for a patient.
Precisely. But the philosophy behind Voxel goes deeper than just let's fix up an old building. It's rooted in her parents. She calls it the concept of the lantern and the spine.
Okay, break that down for us, because this feels like the core DNA of the company.
It is. So her mother, Donna, was a psychologist. She represents the lantern. She taught that empathy is a discipline, a light to guide you through the fog.
So understanding the human element, the emotion behind the action.
Exactly. And her father, Alan, he was the spine. He was a cardiologist who eventually became a venture capitalist.
That's an interesting pivot. Heart surgeon to VC.
Well, if you think about it, both fixed systems. He funded dreams. He gave people's hearts something to beat for.
Ah, I see. So you combine the names Donna and Alan, and you get the Don Allen Experience, which is the parent company.
Right. But the name Voxel itself, that is a tribute to failure.
Yeah, I read this part. Voxel was the name of her dad's medical imaging company that technically failed, right?
Commercially, yes, it didn't work out. But they flipped the script. They named this new success after that old failure to prove a point. Failure is just the first draft. It's an iterative process.
Which is a very Silicon Valley mindset, ironically, planted right in San Pedro.
Fail fast, learn, rebuild.
But let's be real, we shouldn't romanticize the renovation of this building. From the notes, it sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Nightmare might be an understatement. We are talking about 17 active roof leaks.
17, that's not a leak, that's just rain indoors.
I mean, come on.
They also found fire sprinklers that had been painted shut by previous tenants, which is a massive safety hazard.
Wow.
The budget didn't just grow, it detonated. There was a genuine moment of crisis where Jennifer turned to her partner and whispered, "I think we made a mistake."
That's the rock bottom moment in the movie, the moment you want to just walk away.
It is, but that is also where the strategy shifts. It's the story about her son, Nathan.
Oh, yeah. He's just a little kid riding his scooter through this construction disaster zone. He sees his mom is visibly upset, so he just pats the broken wall and says, "It's okay, Mommy, I'm fixing it too."
That hits you right in the gut.
It did for her, too. And it changed the entire aesthetic philosophy. Instead of trying to hide the imperfections with fresh drywall, trying to pretend the building was brand new, they decided to honor the grit.
Honoring the grit. Keep that phrase in mind, because I think that is the theme of the entire South Bay economy right now. It's not about erasing the past.
It's about using it. Voxel became a creator hub designed to give stories polish and power, but without scrubbing away the history. They kept the scars exposed.
And just to show the personality of this place, the studios aren't named Studio A or Studio B, right?
No, not at all. They're named after their nieces, nephews, and 7 family cats.
Which, honestly, if I'm recording something, I want to be doing it in the Mr. Whiskers studio, just set the better vibe.
It adds a layer of humanity that's often missing in those corporate media spaces. But here is where we need to pivot.
Okay.
We have this facility Voxel opening in summer 2026. It honors history, it heals scars, it tells stories. Now let's look at the South Bay economic outlook and see where that specific skill set is actually needed.
Right, because the South Bay has some massive real estate scars of its own that go way beyond one old department store.
It certainly does. And if we are talking about scars, the biggest one, arguably, has been the Hawthorne Mall.
The derelict mall. It's been spooky and empty for, decades? It's famous for being abandoned?
Exactly. For years, it has been a literal barrier to local economic growth, just a black hole in the middle of Hawthorne. But, according to the 2026 Outlook, a final injunction has been issued.
So the legal path is finally clear.
It's clear to transform the entire 35-acre site.
So this is a huge moment. You have this massive, broken concrete beast that needs to become something new.
And this is where Voxel's philosophy becomes a business asset. Think about the challenge the developers face. They can't just bulldoze it and pretend the blight never happened.
No, the community remembers. It has a stigma.
So they need to control the narrative. They need to explain why this time is different.
They need to frame the transition.
Exactly. Just as Voxel healed the JCPenney building by honoring its history, the developers at the Hawthorne Mall need to tell a story of resurrection. They need to market the grit as authenticity.
So Voxel could essentially be the storyteller for that project. They have the experience of saying, look, we took a broken building and gave it a soul. We can help you show the world how the Hawthorne Mall is doing the same thing.
Precisely. It is about narrative branding. Real estate development in 2026 isn't just about pouring concrete, it's about placemaking. And you see a similar need with the Apollo project in Gardena.
Okay, bring us up to speed on Apollo. I saw that in the report. That's the one on Crenshaw Boulevard.
Correct. It's a major development by CityView and Stockbridge. They just completed 265 units at 120,888 Crenshaw.
That's a lot of housing. But who is it for? Gardena has traditionally been more, industrial, more working class.
The target demographic has shifted. They are looking for high-tech workers from the Aerospace Corridor. We are talking about employees from SpaceX, the Tesla Design Center, Ring.
So you have these engineers and designers who spend their days building rockets and EVs in industrial zones, and now they need a place to sleep.
But they don't just want a place to sleep, they want a lifestyle. And here is the disconnect. Gardena is a bit inland. It doesn't naturally scream space beach the way Hermosa or Manhattan Beach does.
So the developers have a marketing problem. They need to convince a SpaceX engineer that living on Crenshaw is cool.
They need to bridge that gap. They need polished, high-end content to connect this residential experience in Gardena to the cool, high-tech vibe of the coast. And that's exactly what a place like Voxel provides the facility for.
It's all about the story you tell.
Yeah.
You work on Mars rockets, you should live somewhere that gets you.
Exactly. Voxel is the bridge between the industrial reality of El Segundo and the aspirational lifestyle of the beach cities.
And speaking of Mars rockets, that leads us directly to the third segment, the space beach phenomenon itself.
This is the big headline stuff. The South Bay isn't just oil refineries anymore, it's defense tech.
It is the new center of gravity for aerospace. The Outlook mentions that Anduril Industries, a major defense unicorn, is building a significant campus in Long Beach.
And that's on top of the continued expansion of SpaceX and Tesla in that corridor.
But here's the catch, right? I was reading in the sources that the industrial real estate market is incredibly tight.
Squeezed is the polite word for it. Vacancy rates are historically low. There is physically no room left. And this creates a very specific problem for these companies.
Which is what? They have too much money and nowhere to put it.
They have a recruitment problem. They need to recruit the absolute best engineers in the world. And to do that, they have to showcase their innovation. They need media. They need to show off the drones, the rockets, all the tech.
But they can't waste precious square footage on a video studio.
Exactly. If you are SpaceX, every square foot of factory floor is dedicated to production. You are not going to build a 5,000 square foot soundstage just to shoot recruitment videos.
You need that space for Raptor engines.
So you outsource it. And that is where Voxel acts as the launch pad. It serves as an off-site media campus. Anduril or SpaceX can send their teams down to San Pedro, which is a short drive, to produce that high-quality content.
Without having to build a studio inside their own factory.
It optimizes their industrial footprint. But there is a secondary layer to this that I find even more interesting.
The supply chain.
The secondary suppliers, the machine shops, the circuit board manufacturers, they are looking for smaller footprints in the South Bay, but they need to compete for contracts with these defense unicorns.
And in that world, perception is reality, right? If your website looks like it was made in 1998, Anduril isn't buying your bolts.
Not a chance. To win a contract, they need to look professional. They need to look like major players. So they go to Voxel's micro video labs, they film their pitch, they make their bolts and wires look like the most exciting tech on Earth.
And suddenly, a small machine shop in Torrance has the same marketing polish as a Silicon Valley startup.
That is the economic value of a creator hub in the specific ecosystem. It levels the playing field. It creates market access for the smaller players.
I love that angle. But it's not just the high-tech giants facing changes. We have to talk about the retail landscape because there have been some heartbreaking shifts there too.
Yes. The 2026 Outlook highlights a very sad milestone, the closure of the Manhattan Beach newsstand.
Oh man, that one hurts. It was there for 30 years, right?
It was a staple. But the combination of rising rents and changing consumer habits, people just aren't buying print magazines like they used to. It forced them to close.
It's the classic adapt or die situation.
It is, and we are seeing it with the big chains too. Darden Restaurants, the huge company behind Olive Garden, announced they are shuttering the Bahama Breeze brand.
Goodbye, coconut shrimp.
But interestingly, they aren't just abandoning the real estate. They are converting 14 of those locations into Yard House or Olive Garden units.
So they're creating what real estate experts call second-generation space.
Correct. But financially, it's a huge opportunity. The kitchen is already there, the plumbing is there, but the brand is wrong.
So how does Voxel fit into this turnover?
Speed to market. Darden needs to rapidly reintroduce these spaces to the locals. They need to say, hey, this isn't Bahama Breeze anymore. Come check out the new Yard House. Voxel is the local production hub to spin that content up quickly. It's all about agility.
But I think the more important connection is back to the Manhattan Beach newsstand.
I agree. If you look at Voxel's mission statement, it is explicitly for anyone with a dream. It isn't just for SpaceX. It's for local creators and small businesses.
So if the next generation of newsstand owners, whatever that looks like in 2026, wants to survive, they can't just rely on foot traffic.
They need a digital presence. If that newsstand had been able to pivot to a digital content model, maybe reviewing magazines or creating a community hub online, they might have survived the rent hike.
So Voxel provides the tools for those small businesses to create the digital armor they need to survive.
Precisely. It allows them to pivot rather than close. It is a survival mechanism for the local economy. It lowers the barrier to entry for digital marketing.
That is a really powerful way to look at it. It's not just about making cool videos. It's about economic survival in a high-rent district.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. The one thing that is keeping the South Bay economy bright, even while the rest of LA County is seeing some stagnation.
The stalling job market. The data showed LA County flatlined a bit in late 2025, right?
It did. Growth has slowed significantly across the wider county, but the South Bay remains a bright spot. And a major driver of that is the preparation for the 2026 Winter Olympics.
The Olympics. It's easy to forget how much economic gravity that has, even before the opening ceremonies.
It is massive. Infrastructure spending, tourism anticipation, branding, and we have local figures right at the center of it. The report mentions Madison Schock, the figure skater from Redondo Beach.
Local legend.
She is bringing national attention to the area. But think about the window of opportunity here. For athletes like her, and for the local brands that support them, this is the moment. The spotlight is on.
But the spotlight moves fast. You have to capture it while it's there.
And you need the technical infrastructure to do that. You can't capture a global audience with a shaky iPhone video anymore. Voxel provides the broadcast quality facilities for these athletes to polish their personal stories and beam them out to the world.
So whether you are a figure skater, a defense contractor, or a developer trying to sell a condo in Gardena, you all have the same problem.
You need to tell a compelling story, and you need to do it now.
And that brings us back to the synthesis of this entire deep dive. Voxel Micro Video Labs, which you can check out at voxelmicrovideolabs.com, is more than just a building on 6th Street.
It really is a microcosm of the South Bay's trajectory in 2026. Think about the parallels.
Go on.
Voxel takes the old and broken, the JCPenney, the grit, the scars, and it doesn't hide them. It equips them for a high-tech future. That is exactly what the Hawthorne Mall is trying to do. It is exactly what the Aerospace Corridor is doing by repurposing old manufacturing zones.
And taking the bones of the past and giving them a new soul.
And that is why this Don Allen concept of the lantern and the spine is so relevant to the economy. The region needs the spine, the infrastructure, the funding, the industrial real estate. That's the hardware.
But the hardware isn't enough.
No, it also needs the lantern, the empathy, the story, the creativity. That's the software.
You need both. You can't just have cold, hard industry. You need the warmth of the story to actually sell it.
Precisely. One without the other fails.
So here's the question for you listening right now. If you are part of this South Bay ecosystem, whether you are a developer looking at a derelict lot, an engineer at SpaceX, or a creator with a dream, how are you telling your story of reinvention?
Are you trying to cover up the scars with drywall? Or are you, like Voxel, leaning into the grit?
Voxel's motto is, "The Phoenix is rising." The facility opens this summer, 2026. The Phoenix is rising, but, as they say in their materials,
You can't do it alone.
will you rise with her? Something to think about as you drive down the 405 today. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.